The small town of Stoughton, Massachusetts, is grappling with a deeply disturbing case. Matthew Farwell, a former police officer, is facing murder charges in the death of 23-year-old Sandra Birchmore. What was initially ruled a suicide has taken a shocking turn. Allegations of a predatory relationship and abuse of power have left the community reeling. Farwell, once sworn to protect, is now accused of exploiting and silencing a vulnerable young woman. The case has ignited outrage and cast a dark shadow over the Stoughton Police Department. It raises serious questions about the abuse of power within law enforcement. This case is a stark reminder of the need for accountability. At the heart of this tragedy lies a deeply disturbing relationship. Prosecutors allege that Matthew Farwell began grooming Sandra Birchmore when she was just a teenager. Instead of finding a mentor, Birchmore encountered a predator who used his position to manipulate and control her. Farwell, a figure of authority, allegedly used his influence to coerce Birchmore into a sexual relationship. This abuse of power continued for years, trapping her in a cycle of manipulation and control. The indictment paints a picture of a young woman ensnared by a predator who used fear and intimidation to maintain his hold over her. For months, Sandra Birchmore's death was considered a suicide. However, the truth began to unravel, revealing a far more sinister reality. The investigation took a dramatic turn when it was discovered that Birchmore was pregnant at the time of her death, and the father was allegedly Matthew Farwell. Faced with the prospect of his crimes coming to light, prosecutors allege that Farwell took drastic measures. He allegedly staged Birchmore's death to look like a suicide, attempting to erase his tracks and escape accountability. This chilling detail transforms the case from a tragic suicide to a calculated and cold-blooded murder. The revelation of Birchmore's pregnancy adds another layer of tragedy to this already horrific case. It suggests that she may have felt trapped and desperate, fearing the consequences of revealing her pregnancy to the man who held so much power over her. This heartbreaking detail underscores the devastating impact of Farwell's alleged abuse. Section 4. The weight of justice. The charges against Matthew Farwell are grave. He faces a litany of charges, including murder, rape, and obstruction of justice. If convicted, he could spend the rest of his life behind bars, a stark contrast to the freedom he allegedly stole from Sandra Birchmore. The legal process ahead will be lengthy and arduous. The prosecution bears the heavy burden of proving Farwell's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. They will present evidence of the alleged abuse, the staged suicide, and the motive behind Birchmore's murder. The defense will mount their own case, attempting to poke holes in the prosecution's narrative. This trial will be about more than just determining guilt or innocence. It will be about seeking justice for Sandra Birchmore and holding Matthew Farwell accountable for his alleged crimes. It will be about exposing the dark underbelly of power and demanding that those who abuse their authority are held responsible. The impact of this case extends far beyond the courtroom. Sandra Birchmore's death has sent shockwaves through Stoughton and beyond. The community is grappling with the realization that someone sworn to uphold the law could allegedly commit such heinous acts. Trust in the Stoughton Police Department has been shaken to its core. Questions are being raised about whether warning signs were ignored and whether a culture of silence within the department allowed Farwell's alleged behavior to continue unchecked. The community is demanding answers and accountability. This case serves as a stark reminder of the systemic issues within law enforcement that allow abuse of power to flourish. It underscores the need for increased oversight, transparency, and accountability within police departments across the country. The tragic death of Sandra Birchmore has ignited calls for change. The community is demanding accountability not only for Matthew Farwell, but also for the system that allowed his alleged crimes to occur. There are growing calls for an independent investigation into the Stoughton Police Department to determine if there were any systemic failures that contributed to Birchmore's death. The community wants to know if warning signs were missed or ignored, and if a culture of silence protected Farwell. This case highlights the urgent need for police reform. It underscores the importance of robust oversight, comprehensive training on sexual assault and domestic violence, and a zero-tolerance policy for abuse of power. The road to justice for Sandra Birchmore will be long and arduous. The trial of Matthew Farwell will be a painful reminder of the abuse she suffered and the life that was tragically cut short. However, it also presents an opportunity for healing and accountability. This case is about more than just one victim and one perpetrator. It is about addressing the systemic issues that allow abuse of power to flourish within law enforcement. It is about demanding justice for Sandra Birchmore and working to prevent such tragedies from happening again. The pursuit of justice requires a collective effort. It demands that we hold those in power accountable, that we challenge systems that perpetuate injustice, and that we never stop fighting for a more just and equitable society.